Let's rock.
So I'm pleased to introduce to you this morning the first speakers. Some of you may have been at Grayson's session yesterday, Outsourcing in a War Zone. Today he's joined by Nathan Bowden to build off a discussion that was started last year at XDS. For the past 10 years, Grayson gained experience as an artist, animator, lead, ninja, and development director. This was until he was hit by the light of art outsourcing in 2007 at Sony Online. At Sony, he built a team that managed outsourcing for DC Universe Online, Star Wars Galaxies, and a few other Sony IPs. After a tour of duty with EA on Army of Two, Grayson was airlifted under the cover of darkness into Blizzard Entertainment to embark on an epic outsourcing journey deep into new territory. Nathan has been in the games industry for 10 years, starting at Microsoft as a concept artist, then moving to Electronic Arts, where he worked on The Sims, Lord of the Rings, Simpsons, and Dead Space. In 2007, he joined Blizzard as a senior environment artist and helped bring the world of Diablo 3 to life. In early 2014, he joined Blizzard's Grip team as its first art supervisor. Please join me in welcoming Grayson and Nathan to the stage.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming so early. I really appreciate everyone being here. So we started a discussion last year I pitched a few crazy ideas about outsourcing and how I think it should be managed, and it was just me and sort of an idea and a theory. But I wanted to follow up this year with you guys and talk about, okay, cool, I talked about a bunch of crazy stuff last year. 1 year later, I want to give you an update on how it's going. We're in production, and this talk today is about how I truly believe why the core of the Grip team is essentially dedicated art resources to handle outsourcing. And this presentation today will sort of go through the general idea of that process, how we're doing it and why it's working and what parts aren't working and the mistakes we made. So we'll jump right into it. So the first thing is I'm going to give you a recap. I'm going to talk about suboptimal events, the places where I messed up. I maybe guided us in the wrong directions. After that, I'm going to talk about what's going awesome. And we're going to sort of share stories of why we believe this is really working and why we truly believe in this sort of method of handling outsourcing. And then what's next? You know, what are our ideas to carry it forward? What do we want to do now? All right, so let's jump into it. So we'll cover I'll go over the first year recap, and then we'll talk about what we can improve. So achievements unlocked this year. We went from essentially me being a new guy hired at Blizzard, not even sort of a half an IP. Now we're working with 2 Blizzard IPs, which is great. We had a full asset creation pipeline in terms of this is going to be essentially modeling, texturing, and on from there. And a full animation pipeline. So we're doing everything from after we finish modeling and texturing, we do full rigging, skinning, animation, even a little bit of particle work. So we're really offering a full sort of suite of options to the Blizzard development team, which I'm super proud of. And we also have a full set of external tools, which I know a lot of folks have talked about this week. But we really want to make sure that our vendors have the ability to develop like we develop. You know, we don't want anyone that works with us or for us to have any sort of, to be treated and work just like we do, even if they're not sitting in the office. All right, so staffing. So the general idea for the Grip team is we went from 1 to 4. It was just me last year. I was essentially double duty as a producer and art supervisor. Nathan was our first art supervisor that we hired, and he'll jump in a little bit to talk about his experience on that. Essentially, I function as producer now. It's nice I can sort of dedicate my time more to making sure that schedules look good, everyone's happy, you know, roadblocks are removed. Nate's our environmental supervisor, handles all of the environment tasks. We hired recently a character supervisor, which has been great help, and we just opened up a job opening for an associate to join our team. We'll talk more about sort of the career path in the group later on. And we went from me working with 4 people externally. And this isn't 4 separate external teams, but 4 individuals across, I think it was across 3 different external partners. But we're up to 24 now, which isn't a huge number, but it's a big growth in about a year. Software side, we're using Dropbox. We're using OneNote in a lot of situations to sort of work between each other. And then Patchwork, tracking feedback and pipeline. This is one of the big things I want to improve. Right now it's sort of spread out, and we'll talk about this later. Contracts, mostly asset-based. So I came last year and I pitched the idea that I was really passionate about. Make your contracts, you pay X amount per asset, and so that that's sort of a very clear understanding of what you're up to. I still believe in that, but I also wanted to give you guys an update. We do some hybrid mandate contracts in some situations, and we'll talk about why we did that later on. Hearts and minds. So our general idea is that we're here to help. We want to make sure that the development team. I worked very hard. Our whole team has worked very hard to set a sort of precedent inside of Blizzard that we're here to assist you. You tell us what you need help with, and we're here to help that. We're also here to commit to quality. So if there's any question about the level of quality that we want to deliver to the internal development teams, we have worked very hard to make sure that they understand that we want the top quality stuff, and that the expectations on us should be the same as any internal artist. So no matter where the art is coming from. And then building trust. So you can trust us that it's going to come in good quality, it's going to come in on time, and that you're going to sort of enjoy the process, and you can sort of trust anyone on our team as if we were just an internal Blizzard artist. It shouldn't be any different. All right, so this is where I step up and talk about the things where I might have guided the team wrong, and talk about things we could have done better. A lot of the points on screen are going to be sort of production type events, and we'll sort of jump back in and forth about how it relates on the art side as well. So the one thing was super interesting, and I sort of laugh when I think back on this, is I'm so excited about outsourcing, and I want to do it right, and I want to craft this nice pipeline for find awesome artists, and it comes in, and then we deliver it in game. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to hire some awesome people. I met Nate, and I'm like, dude, this is great. You're going to join the team, and you're going to help this process. And then I totally forgot about the career path thing.
Yeah, my first question, I was like, this sounds awesome. I'm totally in. The role sounds great. I see a lot of personal growth in this. This is going to be awesome, a new frontier for Blizzard. But I'm kind of selfish, so I was like, so what's my career path? We had all this infrastructure starting to get set up for the pipeline and everything else, but I was like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
Who can I train to do what I do, and how can I grow to maybe level up again, and just kind of share that knowledge across the company.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I want to hire cool, awesome, motivated people, but what am I going to ask them to do? Am I going to ask just Nate to just be reviewing art for the next 5-10 years of his life? Hell no, I want to keep him as part of the team.
So one thing that was awesome about this not being established is that now I can be a part of defining what that track is. And then now that we have Vitaly, our character supervisor, he can chime in as well and basically tailor a career path to our strengths and our desires. And that part, I think, it was a problem that I think is turning into a huge win.
Yeah. I mean, we're super collaborative with it. So essentially what we've come up with, the general idea that we're established is Nate's coming in the middle of our sort of career path. He is an asset master. If you look at it from the middle, there's an asset master. In the beginning, we're going to hire an associate that works their way up to an asset master. And then after that, the general goal is I want my team to have the opportunity and get the instant ownership of as much as you can handle, with the end goal being you will be able to build trust with the art director and everyone on the team that you can handle chunks of levels, full levels. All of a sudden, the art director looks at you and goes, would I recommend this guy to be an art director? Hell yes, I would. Just by giving them the opportunity and the ownership and the autonomy to prove that. But yeah, it totally caught me by surprise, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. So good call. Contracts. So last year I pitched the Last year I pitched the asset-based contracts, pay X amount per asset. Fine, that's good. But it doesn't always work. And it depends on your development process. It depends on a whole bunch of stuff. But it doesn't always work. So I sort of fell back to a hybrid. We buy a big chunk of time, and I just make sure I stay in lockstep with any external partner of sort of what we're spending on each asset in terms of man days and time. So we essentially have a bank account. Nate knows about the bank account of time that we have, that we bought, and we know we have to take care of these two levels or this situation. And it's just sort of an organic process. And the nice part about it is that we can just jump in and say, hey, dude, you go to the environment team, you work with the environment team, you're in the stand-ups every day, find out what they need, and just do that. He doesn't even have to involve me, and that takes a lot off.
Yeah, it's super. I mean, we still obviously do, a la carte contracts, but the hybrid solution is great because here I've got, let's say, 100 hours to spend, and then I can kind of use that as a budget to negotiate with the internal team, and then respond to stuff really quickly. I don't have to wait for a couple days or a week for a contract to come in. I can just send it out and just debit it from the account, and then call us when we're running out of time, and we'll put some more in.
And from my point of view, like, if Nate's freed up to do his job and is delivering stuff to the environment team and everyone's happy, then hell yeah, then it's working. So I'm super happy about that we sort of backed off like the hardline approach and went with the hybrid. All right, so another one, and this is gonna sound super basic, and I just want to sort of admit it in spirit of full honesty. This is sort of like producer 101 stuff that I just messed up. I didn't have enough foresight to the vendors in terms of, what does 6 months out look like? What is, I had a rough idea, and I was like, I think this is it, and I'm talking to the development team, and we have a general idea, but I should have committed to that at least estimation, and I wish I would have bought vendor time based on a plan. But the problem was I lost access to the vendor. I lost access to a vendor that I had ramped up, and that sucked, and that was all on me. So essentially, we were early in production, but fine. I should know better. So it feels good to get that off my chest.
This is also a part where I think I can help out Grayson, but being embedded and involved with the development team is I can start. There's kind of like a fog of war that starts kind of being lifted.
Yeah.
So I can kind of help future-proof some of that stuff and kind of see like, there's a drawing on the wall that looks like you want us to do it, but that looks complicated, and I have a particular vendor that I want to use for that, and just helping them help us plan that stuff out is part of my day-to-day right now.
Yeah. And it's awesome to have that because like I'm sitting in production meetings and I'll go to as many environment art meetings as I can or as many art meetings as I can, but to really have Nate on the ground, I mean, he behaves as another artist, and so for him to sort of be the sort of voice of reason behind me and going, hey, I was in the production meeting and this happened, but wait about I've heard, sounds like there's rumors.
The other thing I can do too is say no.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That sounds like a high iteration, high risk thing that you guys don't really know what you want yet. So when you do, let me know. Right. But here's the window where I need to have that answer so we can deliver on it.
Yeah, and that's huge, and that's been a great help. And another one, again, this is, overcommitting is so easy. It's so easy. I get excited about, I'm sort of in this business because I like solving problems. And I like offering solutions to people and to artists and to teams and everything. That's super exciting to me. But it's super easy to just be like, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. And then you just get myself in trouble. And that doesn't help anyone. So you wind up, it's really easy to get yourself stretched too thin and offer B-level service. I'm not proud of it, but at the same time, I try to do my best to at least identify it and work to fix it as fast as possible. So a lot of that is just, I have a team that I trust, delegate to that team. And again, this is part of what Nate brings up is learn to say no. Or not yet. If we want to do, an extra feature, an extra type of asset that we haven't done before, be like, that sounds awesome. I want to do it. Let's ramp up over the next 2 months to do that or whatever. That's been big. So. All right, and then so we learned. We went through all these lessons and we got super excited, and then we sort of did the same thing. Fire, ready, aim. We got into a situation of where we had an ask, we had sort of some goals set, and we had a vendor that came highly recommended to us, and it was a new asset type, and we had this sort of relatively quick deadline. It wasn't insane, but relatively quick. And that failed, and that will fail every single time. So I want to be able to get up in front of everyone and say, like, I've been doing this for a long, long time, but it is still very easy to get seduced by success. I mean, we were working for a year, and it was working, and we were so excited, and just art's rolling in, and everything's getting approved, and it's like, can you do this? Sure, here we go, and we broke all the rules, and it failed.
I'm actually really happy this happened, because it happened early enough for our process where, like, it can just be like kind of on our epitaph tombstone.
Right.
Like, we can etch that into the wall and be like, don't ever do this again.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we had like redundancies in place where like we made it happen, but it's just a nice reminder. It's one of those things where we can always kind of point back to, like, hey man, this sounds like another situation like X.
Yeah.
And then we just have like I guess a historical base of failure that we don't want to repeat.
Right. Our airbags deployed, and we survived. Luckily, we padded the schedule by 2 weeks, and we have backup vendors, and we have sort of a little bit of internal time. I mean, Nate and Vitaly are both competent artists, so they can pick up some stuff. That's not a workflow I want to repeat, but we have sort of safeguards in place. And I've talked a lot in other situations about a slow ramp up, and it was only with 4 assets. I wish it was with 1, but it was with a few. So not the end of the world, but we learned a lot. Again, yeah. So good. It's nice to remind that it's easy to forget this stuff. All right, so let's talk about what's going gangbusters. I'm gonna do the first slide here, and then pass off to Nate to talk about all the cool work that what he's been doing. So a lot of the strength of this team, and a lot of just sort of my personal beliefs in, I guess, doing business, is empowerment and autonomy. We're going to get into a little bit of that, but essentially, customer focus is a big one. I'm here to, as long as I'm here and our team is here and we're all here to help each other, that sort of sets the baseline of your thought process. And me and Nate sync up on that, and anyone that me and Vitaly sync up on that. Anyone that's part of our team has a very good customer focus to the development team. As well as to any external partners we work with. We're here to help. Like, tell us what that means, and that's what we're going to do. So sort of the core goals of that stuff is my development team happy? Are they happy with the artwork that's getting received? Are the people on my team, is Nate having a good time building the art? Does he feel empowered with his workflow? Does he feel like he can do his job without checking on me all the time, or asking for permission? And as long as the external partner's happy, Nate's happy doing his job, and as long as the art director's happy with the product we're delivering, then win. That's awesome. I'm happy about that. And as part of that, eliminating permission. I don't want anyone on my team to have to check with me. As long as we have sort of the baseline, as long as we're all calibrated and headed in the same direction, don't check with me. That just slows you down. I hired awesome people. I work with great external partners. Why in the hell would I want to get in their way? So as much as I can, and in many situations I can, eliminate permission. And I also believe in sort of servant leadership. I am not here to be your boss. I am here to help you do your job better. Now, whether it's Nate or anyone that I work with, same thing applies. Yeah, that's super important to me. So I try to as much as I can lead the team in that way. So I'll pass it off to Nate, and he'll go through some.
Thank you. I'm an artist. This comes in handy every day. What this allows me to do is not only give high-level feedback in the form of paint overs or notes, I can also dig in under the hood, open up a Maya file, open up a PSD, and give any technical feedback I need to give to the external partner to achieve those goals. I'm also embedded in the team, which is also awesome and comes in handy every day. What this provides is that I have as much context, visibility, and just kind of on the ground's knowledge of what's going on as anybody else on the team. And I can also, and I do this a lot, leverage the experts on the team to help me improve my feedback. Shepherd. So it was like, I think my first day, I was working with the team again, and like, so what do you what do you do? Like, are you like an artist now, or like what's going on? And the thing I came up with, which I ended up liking a lot, is asset husbandry. So I'm basically going to nurture this asset from concept to block out to model to implement it. And because I'm an artist, I know all those stages and I know what it takes to get there. So I will not let that asset fail. If it ever trips and falls, I'm there to pick it up. When it's there to succeed, I'm there to pat on the back. So Shepard kind of sums that part up.
The other thing I did want to mention there is I totally got to cheat a little bit because I was generally the new guy at Blizzard when I started. So I was brought into Blizzard to do outsourcing, and no one sort of knew me necessarily. No one, and I was the new guy, and I was there to outsource. They were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So
I was one of those people. I was like,
yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Right. What are we doing? This isn't
gonna work.
Yeah. And the one bonus I did get, bringing Nate onto the team and Vitaly as well, they were both internal hires. I mean, Nate, you've been at Blizzard for 7
years?
Yeah, sort of a long time. So I did get an extra bonus of sort of trust.
Yeah, I mean, I had already worked with this particular team for 2 years, kind of between Diablo projects. And so I kind of knew everybody already. That was a huge advantage. They knew me, and we already had kind of rapport and relationship of trust that was already built up. So they're like, well, we trust Nate. I wasn't like, we're not doing 2 new things. We're doing something we know plus something we don't. And that kind of helped grease the wheels a little bit. Yeah. The other thing is I'm kind of a double agent. And that sounds a little like spy versus spy. But basically what that boils down to is I am the representative of the dev team to the external partner. And I represent and kind of evangelize the external partners to the dev team. Leader, actually, I think probably servant leader would probably sum that up better. And it kind of ties into what Grayson was talking about with kind of the empowerment. I have all the authority and all the tools I need to do everything I need to. I don't need to wait for an AD to approve something. If I've done all my prep work correctly, we've already agreed on what the target is. I just have to get it there. And the autonomy thing, it doesn't mean that we're off in a vacuum. Grayson and I talk all day. I talk with the environment guys all day. I grab the AD whenever I can, and people are filled in. It's just that they don't have to like really do anything. If there's a fire that they want put out, I hear about it before it flames up, take care of it, no problem. Right. As far as just leadership in general, like I think a great leader trains their replacements. And that's kind of what I try to do with the vendors. I don't hold anything back. I teach them everything I know how to do, how I know how to do it. And it's been awesome to see them kind of blossom and mature. And honestly, the better I do my job, the less I have to do my job. And I'm really lazy, so that's a pretty huge perk.
We talked a little bit about it in some of our prep work, where we talked about taking all the credit goes to the vendors.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too.
That's part of the double agent thing a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of ties in double agent leader. Like any failures that happen, that's not the vendor's fault. That's my fault. I didn't communicate something properly, or maybe I communicated something really, really clearly. I just communicated the wrong thing. So that's on me, and I will not let the dev team place any blame on the vendor. They can put it on me. It also helps that I'm a person, so they can just talk to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, well. On the flip side, any success that happens, that's the vendor. That's not me. They did all the work. So I think that relationship has kind of helped the dev team kind of wrap their heads around, like, these are people too, and treat them like you would treat anybody sitting next to you.
It's all Blizzard.
The seed pack. This is, I'm not sure how ubiquitous a term this is, but this is basically all the information we give to the vendor in order to get an asset back. We're still kind of evolving this, but it basically boils down to, like, what do you want? This is me to the dev team. What do you want, and how do you want it made? And it's kind of just the recipe for success. Tech info, poly count, texture memory, does it need to move? Is it destructible? Like, do I need to build this in a certain way? Like, I want to have as much context as I can when I go into this thing. Really, like, this is the most important part of the whole process. This is proactive. Feedback is reactive. So the more I do here, the less I have to react. Right. Review phases. there's not like a one-size-fits-all solution for this, and I kind of like base it on the vendor, the artist, the asset, but basically I want to establish what I want and when I want it delivered as far as like, this is like just a block-out phase, this is a polish phase, this is second pass, just so that we have mutual understanding of what the expectations are.
Yeah. And what it looks like at each stage, that was a big one too, because you can say block-out, and even our internal understanding of what block-out is, changes. So we needed to sort of be the team and the people to sort of really define that and nail that down.
Yeah. The style docs is kind of like the more, just the aesthetic, like what's the art direction, particular brush strokes that people want or whatever. This one kind of gets a little, like tech info is nice because it's very objective. Like it needs to be these many polys, done. Style doc, that's where it starts getting fuzzy, and that's honestly where most of my feedback ends up happening, is just kind of like, could it be a little thicker? You know, like it's this weird kind of gut check where like the last 10% really takes 90% of the time. Kind of a companion to all those is concept, ref, block out. We provide all those things. Some, again, not a one-size-fits-all thing. Some have heavier concept, some have heavier block out, but I just, again, kind of going back to like, I'm an artist, I look at everything as far as like, well, what would I need to succeed at this? And if I don't think I could succeed at it, I'm not sending it out. Again, it all boils down to like, what does good look like? So having benchmark assets, like if I'm making this stage and I got to make 4 sets of speakers, I've made one in-house that's cool and good and everybody approves. Now I'm going to make the other stuff in that family.
Like we're not going to send stuff out if we don't know what black plastic looks like. It's like, hey, let's outsource this speaker. Cool. Hey, can you show me what black plastic looks like? Oh, we don't have an example of that.
Yeah,
you got to figure that out.
Why don't you figure out what you want? Because normally what you get is like a list of nouns. And you're like, okay, what type of speaker?
Right.
Right. So basically, just building clarity, making sure the team understands what they want, and we kind of start committing to things, because that's what they're going to get. Tools for success. This is something we're still kind of working on, but basically, I want to know who's asking for this. And there's certain like kind of check marks along the way that I want the artist to kind of think about. Like, it kind of goes back into like, it's the initial stuff that goes into the seed pack. So we're still kind of, right now it's very organic, and it's mostly me and the environment lead kind of going back and forth during the course of prep work. But we're going to try to like make this a little bit cleaner to where almost anybody could do it.
And this covers a little bit more than what's in the tech doc. So it's you know, it's what is it, where is it used, you know, how are you going to interact with it? Just make sure that we have a sort of a full understanding of what it is. And so that at the end of the day, like, we can set the expectations both in the in the tech pipeline, and, you know, is there enough memory for this? Do you want 500 of these, or is just the need one of them? So it's really, we're trying to boil that down to what is the actual request.
The CPAC, which we already went over. Tools pipeline, basically, I want to give external partners every advantage. So they're going to have what we have. They're going to have our Maya tools. They're going to have our engine. They're going to have every context shots of the level. I'm going to give them everything I can to help them succeed.
And from my point on that one is I need to make sure that Nate has all the tools that he needs to do his job well. Is the external partner using a piece of software to rip their AO maps that we're not using? And he should probably have a copy of that. He needs a way to like pass files back and forth. Okay, so let's get Dropbox, or let's get whatever software. There's tons of solutions out there, but my whole point is I need to make sure that, like, if there's any need that my guys have or the external have, I need to make sure that's resolved and make sure that you can do your job is really what that is.
Feedback pipeline is pretty straightforward. It's basically like, I have the feedback, how do I get it to you? We're trying to unify all that right now. We're still a little bit kind of scrappy. So we're using a combination of like Dropbox, Jira, you know, some vendors have like their own website with like a forum type thing. Eventually we're kind of unify all those things, but basically I need to get you the feedback.
Right, and in a way that makes sense to the vendor, and sort of that's the cool part about Nate's role, is that he can sort of customize the way he delivers feedback. Does this external partner like video feedback? Do they like Photoshop markups? Do they like just bullet points in the OneNote, whatever? as long as we have that worked out, and as long as it's working for the two people in the relationship, Nate the artist and the external artist making the art, then that's working. So we're pretty organic now, but one of my sort of missions is to sort of clean that up and put it into, at least on the tracking and project management side, make sure we have a one single place.
Be a human. Involve the dev team. Like, I want them to be engaged. I want them to not feel like this is like a throw it over the fence situation. Like, I want us to all feel like we're in like a three-legged race together. We are all Blizzard. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in Europe or Asia or Irvine, California. We are all doing this together. Crawl, walk, run. It's very seductive to, we have outsourcing now. Throw 1,000 things at them. Like, whoa, pump the brakes. Like, we don't do that here. So why would we expect to do that there? Yeah. So everything at Blizzard is very, I want to say slow, I want to say deliberate, but like we don't rush things, and we want to make sure that there are checks along the way to ensure success.
The whole point is to do it right, you know what I mean? Like, so take your time, make sure you're doing the right thing for the project, for the people involved. That covers a lot of situations. And also, it does sort of go into involving the development team. I mean, we act like any other sub-team. We have the environment team, we have the character team, we just act like a part of that. So in terms of involving the dev team, I mean, Nate's up out of his desk half the day, and that's just part of the job, and that's great that stays so in touch with them. So that's super important.
It's okay to say not yet. This is something that was actually really hard for me to learn, I guess, because normally I'm in a situation where like, that sounds like a great idea. We should totally do that. But I'm currently empowered to be able to say like, no, but here are the reasons why. Like we don't have enough time to prep this properly, or I don't have enough information, or anything else you can think of. When I say no, it's not because I don't want to do it. It's just not yet.
Right. We would love to do this. Let's take time to do it right. It's crawl, walk, run.
And that kind of ties into like the whole forecasting, planning thing. Yeah. Like, no, you can't have this next week because you asked for it today, and I don't have a vendor lined up. And while we do have spigots we can turn on, it's not like a fire hose that just blasts assets out. Right. I'm handing this over to Grayson.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about what's next. So we sort of covered, their status update. We covered some stuff where we sort of made some amateur mistakes, and then we talked about why it's still working, why we really believe in this process, and we're going to continue to grow it. So I think our big focus coming up is going to be career path. So we've identified it as something we need to fix, work on, solve. We've got this plan in place. We're essentially pitching this up through the sort of the pipeline to get it sort of locked in. But now let's test it. Let's see how it goes. We've got two guys sort of in the middle of that path that joined the team right in the middle. I would like them to continue to love this role and this position, so I want to keep them around. So let's see how this goes. Let's see, there was one more thing that I was going to mention here, but it's essentially, so I think it's just, I want them to love this position, not just be a temporary, oh, you're here for a project and you're out. I want them to really sort of enjoy this process. So it's big to me. I want to make sure that this works and they feel like there is progression through their career working with it. Centralized tracking software, I mentioned it a few times, but essentially right now it's super scrappy. We're super nimble with it, which is great. It's working. But then at the same time, I totally realize that we're not yet in a place where we can scale properly, and we need to continue to scale. Concept. I want to grow our concept outsourcing pipeline. We did a little bit of this, and we're dabbling in it, but I do want to sort of grow the ability for an external partner to develop the concept. Maybe it's the same vendor across the pipeline. Maybe it's a different vendor. Maybe you have a vendor that's taking care of the production concepts, doing, what does it mean to make a speaker in our world or a chair in our world? What does that look like? And then continue on with the 3D production of it. Because right now we're asking for all internal resources to handle our concept, and that is a big bottleneck. And the last one is expansion. So right now we are continuing to grow as a team. I want to put a limit on this. I don't want to be a big overhead on Blizzard. I want to make sure that all the stuff I mentioned last year about spend your money smart is relevant. I don't want to be this Goliath team that takes a lot of money just to pay our salaries and keep us in business, because that's sort of not the point. But I do want to expand to a certain point where we can offer a full suite of options and a full volume of options. So more Blizzard IPs, I'm talking with more guys saying, hey, we can help. We're here to help. What are your pain points? This does go along with the hearts and minds thing I forgot to mention earlier, but essentially as soon as everyone hears outsourcing on these teams and they go, ooh, you know, are you sure? It's Blizzard, you know, we sort of do our own thing. If I go, well, all right, well, let me sit down with you. Tell me about your process. And what parts suck and what parts don't you like doing, I can help with those. And all of a sudden it becomes a different conversation. So I'm hoping to offer more help to more teams where it makes sense. I'm not going to put my foot into places where it doesn't make sense. I want to be there to really assist in the game development process. So I'm excited to do that, and I want to offer more help. I just wanted to thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you guys getting up this early, and I appreciate you guys listening to our crazy rants. Thank you.